Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Welcome back to Disenfranchised, the podcast where we take Friends episodes and identify the disenfranchised grief in each one. I'm Bulinski Mathison, founder of The Naked Grief and creator of this podcast. Today we are looking at Season 2, Episode 22, the one with two parties. It's Rachel's birthday, and while on the surface it looks like high-stakes comedy of errors involving smuggled guests and a very unfortunate Mexican custard, there is some heavy-duty emotional baggage being lugged between apartments 19 and 20. We're talking about the exhaustion of the divided self and the quiet sting of unrecognized effort. So grab a drink, preferably not served by Monica with a coaster and a set of rules, and let's unpack the grief. The goo and the graduation from hell. So in this episode, Rachel is turning 24. It should be a milestone of independence, but instead it becomes a logistical nightmare. Her parents, Sandra and Dr. Leonard Greene, also just Mr. and Dr. Greene, are in the midst of a bitter divorce, and after a disastrous run-in at her sister Jill's graduation, the plan is simple: keep them apart. They weren't even going to invite the parents, and then Monica let it slip that she had already invited Rachel's mom, and then, lo and behold, nothing can go as planned, right? So as always in sitcom land, the plan falls apart immediately when Dr. Greene shows up at Monica's classy party, and the solution is a literal split. Dr. Greene stays in the boys' apartment for a beer and volleyball rager, while Mrs. Greene stays with Monica for boggle and birthday flan. So the characters that we have in grief in this episode is, of course, Rachel, who's experiencing the divided self. Rachel's grieving the loss of her family unit, but more specifically, she's grieving her own peace. Throughout the night, she is forced to oscillate between two versions of herself to accommodate her parents' inability to coexist. She is the peacekeeper, the secret carrier, and the emotional buffer. And at one point, she sits on the stairs with Chandler to ask him how he got through it. Mind you, he was 9. And when she's sitting on the stairs, she's not just tired. She's exhausted by the weight of managing two people who are supposed to be managing her celebration. And then we've got Monica and the unrecognized effort. Monica, the perpetual hostess. She's experiencing a different kind of mourning. She's grieving the death of her vision. She has put her heart, her fake boobs from her Moondance Diner costume, and her culinary reputation into this party. She sees herself as the glue of the group, the ultimate hostess. And when the guests and eventually her own friends abandon her classy party for the boys' apartment, it's a deep blow to her identity. To Monica, the rejection of the Flan is the rejection of her. So now naming the disenfranchised grief. Why do we call this disenfranchised grief? Because society often tells adult children of divorce to get over it. We're told that because we're adults, our parents' split shouldn't affect us the way it does a child, but that's a lie. So part of why it's harder as an adult, I think, not that I went through it, but when you're not there living in the heart of the house, watching the relationship not be what it once was, I think it gets tougher to accept when your parents say we're done. Because you're still in denial because everything's still the way it was when you lived there. So first we've got the divorce legacy grief. This is the long-term splitting of holidays, birthdays, and milestones. It's the grief of never again having a whole experience. Every celebration from now on comes with a side of logistics. Rachel isn't just sad that her parents are fighting. She's grieving the simplicity of a birthday. She's mourning the version of her life where she didn't have to check the hallway for her father before hugging her mom. This is a classic example of coping with grief and loss in a way that isn't recognized by human resources or a Hallmark card. the society rejection of the host. Monica is experiencing a loss of social standing and goodness. When you are the one who always shows up, always cooks, and always plans, you build your self-worth on being needed. When the group decides that the fun is more important than your effort, it triggers a grief response. It's the sting of being the boring friend when you were just trying to be the stable one. So, as always, we got to acknowledge the friend support in this. And it's always kind of a mixed bag, right? So, first, the boys, Chandler and Joey, they provide the fun outlet for the party. And they do it on a whim, because that was never the plan. It was always supposed to be at Monica's. And then when Dr. Greene shows up, they just move half the decorations, half the food, and half the guests over to their apartment. But this was also a devastating blow for Monica, because now she's not the heart of the party. She's not the hostess with the mostest. She's only the hostess to some, not all. But the big step up, even though it was a little muddy, was at the end of the night when Rachel's parents go to leave and they're all in the hallway in this picture. And in order to have Dr. Greene and Mrs. Greene not see each other, Joey grabs Mrs. Greene and plants a kiss on her. And it's a ridiculous distraction, but it's a physical manifestation of the lengths that the friends are willing to go to protect Rachel's peace. Then we've got Phoebe, the ever bridge builder. She acts as a smuggler. She recognizes that Monica's party is a sinking ship, and she helps the guests escape and get over to Chandler and Joey's. And while this feels like a betrayal to Monica, it's actually an act of mercy for the community. Phoebe is trying to balance the needs of the many against the rigid rules of the one. Phoebe also knows Monica well enough to know that there are ways that she can patch this bridge later. So meanwhile, Ross is trying to bond with Dr. Greene, and he fails miserably. Mostly because he is wearing Dr. Greene's glasses and smoking his cigarettes, and his intent's there. But while he's trying to bridge the gap for Rachel, he ends up looking like a vascular surgeon parody. And Dr. Greene doesn't like Ross to begin with, so ouch. Now some coaching moments and what-if scenarios. At The Naked Grief, we believe in reframing these moments to help you set boundaries. Boundary setting. You are not the peacekeeper. Rachel's biggest mistake was taking on the emotional labor of her parents' divorce. The reframe. Your parents' failure to be adults in the same room is their problem to solve, not yours to manage. The what if. What if Rachel had said, I'm having one party. If you both can't be there and be civil for 2 hours, then please don't come. It sounds harsh, but it stops the divided self from splintering. It places the responsibility of the relationship back on the people who actually own it. Now, let's be real. It was a surprise party. So maybe the boys could have had a talk with Dr. Greene, and Monica could have had a talk with Mrs. Greene, and they could have gotten the two to meet in the hall and basically given them the ultimatum at that point. Before she gets here, you guys have to just suck it up, Buttercup, and be there for your daughter. Because you failed to do that for your other daughter at her graduation. I mean, the officiant stopped the graduation ceremony because these two couldn't be civil. And I don't know how big the college graduation was, but I know how big mine was. That's a lot of people that are put on pause. It's kind of crazy. Validating the goo. It's okay to be the boring friend. The reframe for Monica is your flan was a labor of love. The fact that they wanted pizza and volleyball doesn't make your effort bad. The what if. What if Monica had just bought a cake? Sometimes we over-engineer our effort as a way to control the outcome. If Monica had lowered the stakes for herself, she wouldn't have felt so much grief when the party shifted. She definitely does like to overplan. That's why she's such a great hostess. The relatable real-life examples. We see the disenfranchised grief example in almost every adult child of a split family. It's the two Thanksgiving syndrome. It's the feeling of being a traitor if you spend 10 more minutes at your dad's house than your mom's. I once coached a woman who spent her entire wedding day checking the zones to make sure her father's new wife didn't cross paths with her mom. She didn't remember her own vows because she was so busy being a human GPS for her parents' resentment. That's grief. That's the loss of your own milestone for someone else's drama. And for the Monicas out there, we've all been the person who planned the perfect outing only for everyone to want to stay home and order Thai food. It hurts. It feels like rejection of your value. But your value isn't the flan. It isn't the fact of anything other than you showed up. Yeah, see, I always want to be the Monica, but when I have a party, nobody shows up. Everybody finds a nice, polite way to cancel, and you can't help but take it personal. I have learned that when the one or two people show up, you're grateful for them, and you don't focus on who didn't, focus on who's there. But it's really hard to do that if everybody bails. So, the conclusion of this episode is the death of the flan. This episode ends with a volleyball falling from the ceiling and smashing the birthday flan. Rachel's reaction, wow, those things almost never come true. She's referring to the wishes. It's a funny line, but it's also a release. The flan is the symbol of Monica's control and the goo of the night's messy emotions. It's finally gone. The party's over. Rachel survived, but at a high emotional cost. If you're struggling with the splitting of your life or feeling like your efforts to hold things together are going unrecognized, you aren't alone. This is the mental health in TV shows that we don't talk about enough. The quiet, exhausting work of being the stable one. Next week, we're dealing with a different kind of itch. It's season 2, episode 23, the one with the chicken pox. We've got Charlie Sheen in a Navy uniform, Phoebe in oven mitts, and the grief of missed connection. Until then, stop being the peacekeeper for a war you didn't start. Visit us at thenakedgrief.com for more resources on navigating the losses no one else sees. Be sure to like and follow this YouTube channel for more episodes like this, and we'll see you next week. Until then, da 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 da.